Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. Our guest of today is Ryan, and he's the principal advisor of High Velocity X. Ryan, why don't you tell a little bit more about yourself and what the company is doing?
Joey, nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me on to the podcast. At High Velocity X, what we work on is it's a mixture of business advisory and consulting, and it's multifaceted. Let's say that you are a small business or startup and you are looking to get off the ground running and actually really monetize, get people to recognize what you're doing. Well, what we help with is making sure that whatever your offer is really clear so you can get out to market in a very smooth way. And we've even built some AI automation tools to help with that. Beyond that, because of my background as a commercial and corporate lawyer, I get involved in a lot of different mechanics. And there's a reason why I focus on offers is because I'm a deal maker. That's how I position myself. I'm working with business owners to negotiate deals, whether that's for low ticket or mid ticket or high ticket. I tend to work on very high ticket deals, especially for myself, because the reason that I can advise startups and small businesses is that I work with larger businesses as a fractional chief operating officer. The range is quite varied, and a lot of people say, "Oh, Raihan, you must be a jack of all trades, so you're a master of none." Well, the case is that I have relatively deep expertise as a corporate commercial lawyer. I trained at a top law firm in London, worked within Amazon's legal team in their marketplace. I have a lot of different large corporate expertise, and I've been keeping my legal wheels spinning for over 10 years. But before that, I was also and have been a software engineer. I started coding when I was 12, 39. You do the math. It's been a long time, and I built products that tens of thousands of people use when I was just 16 years old. I have been around in a lot of different things. I just love learning and doing things. Eventually, I've calmed down on the doing, although I still do a lot because I now have a wife and two kids. I am a family person, and I mean, the whole range of things that I've done, I really just love what I do. I get involved in deep project management, product management, and now in the past 2 years, a lot of deep funnel marketing activities. I'm never not learning. I bring all that learning into any organization that I advise or provide consulting for.
I love that. And you're saying it's pretty interesting. You say, hey, you have experience in quite a variety of areas. But it's not that you don't have just experience. You're a specialist in a lot of those areas.
It's hard work because it means that I probably didn't sleep a lot in my earlier years. And now I'm not sleeping because of the kids and the work.
Very, very interesting. And what would you say, like the companies you work with, from the clients you've had in the past, what makes it unique to work with you?
A lot of it is tied to how I think. And I think that this is what they tell me. They appreciate my way of looking at a problem. And I try to rationalize this as well. Because of my multiple expertise, I can connect the dots when it comes to risk and other topics in a way that other people just couldn't because they don't know about those topics or the risks behind them. They typically have to consult another expert. And it's not like I don't consult experts, but what I can do is provide integrated advice and strategy in a very fast manner. So if you're talking about startups failing fast that they can excel, it's probably good to work with an advisor who knows about these different topics. I forgot to mention is that I also have a background in cybersecurity. Earlier this year, I passed the CISSP certification examination, and I add that to my tool belt of different certifications, but it's a way of letting people know that I care about these topics. And that value is, one, I have the credentials. I went to two top universities, if people care about that. One is Carnegie Mellon University in the States. Another is King's College London in the UK. And by having the credentials, but also the deep expertise in the corporate world and also as an entrepreneur, they're getting a multifaceted perspective. That's what they also tell me. It's not just me saying it, it's what they tell other people.
Very nice. And let's say throughout your whole career, you being an entrepreneur, you being in the corporate world, let's say 10 years, you could go back in time. What's one thing you would do differently with all the experience you're having and the knowledge you're having right now as we're speaking?
I would definitely complete building the LLM that I was actually designing in 2015. So what I learned before, part of my story is a bit long, but I've lived in a number of countries. So I'm from the United States. I moved to London in 2008. And then I moved to Ukraine in 2016. And I lived in Ukraine for 6 years until 3 weeks before the full-scale invasion of the country. And then I fled with my family to London. Actually went to Istanbul first and then to London. But when I was I was in Ukraine in 2015, and that's when I came up with this idea for a translation engine between English, Russian, and Ukrainian because the dreamer in me, and I'm still a dreamer, believed in diplomacy and that if we all learn how to communicate with each other around all these different topics, just perhaps we can bridge our differences and get to a better future. Obviously, we see a very different picture of what's happening right now. I still am very much passionate about diplomacy and democracy and bringing greater peace and whatnot to the world. But I would have built that LLM. Instead, I did end up joining a company, which I don't regret. I joined a company when I moved to Ukraine, and I put this LLM on the back burner, sort of. I did make a prototype where if I searched for a phrase in the English language, I could find its exact contextual translated counterpart in the Russian language. And then back then, Google Translate worked pretty well from translating from Russian to Ukrainian. Then I just did that. And then that way I was able to learn both languages faster.
Very interesting, and that's part of life. Sometimes we have these experiences, and they always say, right, the best kind of the best kind of moment to start is yesterday. The second best moment to start is actually today.
That's right. I don't have any regrets though about what I did because by going through the corporate rat race again, because I was in a corporate commercial law firm where there's also that element of things, a rat race of sorts. I did the same thing in the global technology outsourcing industry. A company in that realm for about 7 years, got promoted 5 times in 5 years, and eventually, just because primarily triggered by the invasion, I decided that I think I need to just do something that will get me closer to realizing what I'm looking to do. Also, my wife was pregnant with our second child. I can't do all these different things and a corporate job and like have a family. So I'm going to keep the family and also do my own thing too.
Nice. And how are you acquiring new customers for your business right now?
I'd say when it comes to the smaller businesses and startups, a lot of that is because I do a lot of activity on things like social media, but it's also because I'm involved in different business coaching communities and networking groups, primarily in the United Kingdom. I'm part of some different training organizations where they teach people about branding and marketing and sales. And I've gotten a lot of deep training in that in the past couple of years. And the learnings that I get from that, I pass on to my bigger clients. The bigger clients I tend to get through word of mouth. The thing is, when we're having a conversation like the one we're having, Joey, you get to learn a bit more about my different competencies, and it could make sense by the end of the conversation. Ron probably could be the guy that can take care of all these different things. But if I go out willy-nilly just talking out there and I meet someone for like 30 to 60 seconds, yeah, I can do the 30 to 60-second elevator pitch and say, oh yeah, I can run your business for you so that you don't have to do that. Of course, I can make that pitch, but that takes some relationship building to do. I do a lot of networking and relationship building when it comes to those types of relationships. Typically, though, if you want to know the secret to getting to that COO level work, I start off as a lawyer. I'm the person that they come to deal with reviewing a contract, drafting the contract, determining if there's any risk in relation to a potential deal that they might get into. What are some potential negotiation angles to look at? When they know that and I do that well, then that opens the door to the next thing.
Very nice. And let's say, right, I like what you're saying about the genuine like relationship building. And I think this is the way it should work because like sales is actually helping someone out by asking the right questions. And you can only do that by actually building a genuine relationship. And if you go out there, you're saying you're doing an elevator pitch at a networking event, especially at such an event, you're going to be known as the guy who does the elevator pitch.
Exactly. I like to get to know people. I care about when people speak with me, I'm going to be the one asking the questions. What do you actually want to do in your life? What is the dream that you actually have? Where do you really see yourself in your business in 5 to 10 years? Is what you're doing right now actually what you want to do? I'm sometimes careful not to ask that question if there's a pure piece of small transactional work that someone wants. Who's this guy asking about my dreams? I just need this contract done. I have to read the room and understand, who am I speaking with? Does someone just want me to do a task for them, or do they really want to get closer to what they really want in their future? If they want that second thing, I'm a really good person to chat with because I care about what people want. And when I'm coming up with solutions, I'll be the first person to say, you shouldn't hire me. if I can't help with that. If I can refer that business to someone else, I'll totally do it. Doesn't matter to me.
Very nice. And let's say when you were younger, when you were like fan of Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
let's say you can be Gandalf for one day, the guy with the big gray beard, and you can hold this magic staff. And with this magic staff, you could solve any problem in a business you're having right now. What kind of problem would you choose if you can hold this magic wand of Gandalf for one day?
It would be getting the business owner to realize we'll start off with the business owner. If I have super wizard powers, we'll do it for the whole team within a company. But it's all about understanding the connection between the vision, the strategy, and the execution. Oftentimes, I've seen a disconnect in the business owner. They have this big vision, this big dream, but then their strategy and execution gets in the way of realizing that vision. I think if I could just cast a spell where they can see that alignment and not get in the way of that alignment actually staying, that would be the key, because then everything will run smoothly because we'll know whether or not what we're doing is in alignment to getting to where we're looking to go. All the risks tied to it, the amount of impact or value tied to doing some form of execution, all of that would be accounted for as long as that alignment stayed.
Very nice. And let's say every founder of the world is watching this podcast right now. And they're like, hey, I want to be more aligned. I want everything to just be super focused towards where we want to go. Let's say every founder on the world on this podcast, you could fix this problem right now. What kind of advice would you give to these founders who are watching the podcast where I think, hey, I might could use some help with that?
Imagine that you want your business to impact, let's say, 1,000 business owners in the next year. You want all of them to start using your product, for example. Well, then you'd have to look at it from a product manager's perspective, but also just a marketer's perspective. Have you actually done the product market fit? There's all these different questions to ask, but it all comes down to, are you building something purposeful that you actually believe in? If you don't, you will burn out and you will not succeed, or you will cause a big headache for everyone else. Make sure that you are really in it about what you're doing. If you have that passion and that drive inside because of what you're working on, then most things will figure themselves out as long as you keep alignment between that vision, strategy, and execution.
I really like what you're saying in the end. It's about like having this initial foundation, because if you have this really strong why, like why you're doing it, and you see their meaning in what you're doing, is way easier to actually align your vision as well and your strategy, because you have such a sense of passion towards what you're doing.
Yeah. When I'm advising the business owners who sometimes have that misalignment, or they might even create the blockers in the way of aligning that vision with the execution, I always remind them, this is when I sometimes do coaching for these business owners, even if they're at the 7-figure level, I will still have to provide coaching for them too, because they need to remember why they're doing this. And whenever I remind them of why they're doing this, they will tend to step back and realize that perhaps the direction that they're trying to go in terms of strategy or execution won't fit. And that's what I tend to do, as I'll say, hey, are you sure that taking that action is really going to help you? It sounds like it might take you in the wrong direction, or it's going to be a side quest. If we're trying to win it, the side quests are fun, but that's all that they are. And I remind them, you really care about getting to that end result. It matters to you so much. Let's make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to really delay us. I mean, yeah, it's fine to take breaks, but if you're trying to do something serious, then do it seriously.
Nice. What are some of the goals you're having with the company for the next, let's say, 12 months?
Over the next 12 months, one of my big goals is to focus more on acting as an advisory board member to different businesses. So the difference between an advisor and a consultant and someone in-house, they're all very different. An advisor is not making any decisions on behalf of a business. They're not doing any actual execution or consulting work. They're just there to provide analysis and options and understandings around what the decision makers can do. And I love helping business owners with all the different forms of insight that I can provide with my various forms of knowledge. I would love to focus on doing more with advisory boards in areas of AI, in cybersecurity, and as a lawyer as well, but I include that in the governance aspect of things. But I think that AI is such an important topic. It's not hype. People are using it all the time, and it is something that needs to be used in a responsible manner. I have a press release that went out recently about how AI authenticity, or AI is actually contradictory to authenticity in a lot of cases. Let's say you're posting something on social media and you just ask ChatGPT to write something for you, but it doesn't actually match with your voice or anything that you'd ever say. It's eroding the trust in the online space. I strongly advocate for people to be authentic. I care about being authentic, and perhaps because I know how to use the tools, I know how to use AI to make the words sound like me, but I think that that's important. We all need to get more skilled and adept at using these different tools in order to get things done. I don't believe that AI is just going to outright eliminate all types of work and that no one can work. Instead, I think it's going to shift the way that we do our work, and more opportunities will come up, but we've got to stay updated. We have to stay ahead of the curve.
Very nice. And Ryan, for the people who are watching this podcast right now, what are some of the ways they can connect with you? They're like, hey, I want to know more. Well, how can we do so?
The best way, just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have a chat with you. You know, we can get a call in. Let's have a conversation and understand, what are you doing? What are you up to? What actually matters to you? Those are the best conversations. All the other conversations are just transactional things. I just want to have a chat. Maybe whatever we talk about, we could end up connecting with each other to work on something, or we could connect with other people. However makes sense.
Just like general relationship, just connecting with each other and see whatever happens from there. Yeah. So Ryan, thanks so much for being on the podcast. And for the people who are watching it right now, I'm going to make sure to put the description of Ryan and the company down below. Everyone can find it. Thanks for sharing all your value, talking about the lessons learned, and talking about your background. And yeah, everyone, thanks for tuning in, and see you all in the next episode.